Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user Throwing AITA New Kid. Am I the a-hole for wanting to start a relationship with my newly found daughter? When I, 51 male, was 16, I met a Mexican girl, Anne, in my school, who was new and immigrated to the States. She was absolutely gorgeous and had a very distinctive look. We dated for 5 years and I had always considered her the love of my life. We went to the same college together and always talked about getting married. Her family wasn't very keen on a white kid like me dating her, and one day she asks to meet me at a local park and tells me she has to skip town. I asked why and when I would see her again. She acted like she couldn't talk long and just said she didn't know, but she was doing this for my safety. That was the last time I ever saw her. I moved on eventually, but I always thought of her. When Facebook became a thing, I tried to find her, but never did. Eventually, I got married to my wife, 50 female, when we were in our early 40s. She already had 2 kids from a previous marriage who were both preteens at the time. I've provided for them, but they were never warm to me. I don't really begrudge them, but I never felt appreciated for everything I sacrificed to provide. They are in their early 20s now. Fast forward to 6 months ago. A new girl, Beth, started at our office, and when I saw her, I was shocked. She was the spitting image of Anne. When I got the chance to talk to her privately, I asked if her mom's name was Anne. She said she honestly didn't know because she was adopted, but she had been hunting for her biological parents for years. She only had one photo to reference. I asked if I could see it. She said she would bring it the next day. I kept this from my wife. I didn't want to say anything if I didn't know 100% that it was her, and she is the jealous type and never liked hearing about Anne. So the next day, Beth brought the photo and it was Anne. I told her my story. We both came to the realization that she was old enough to potentially be my daughter. We planned to get a paternity test that week. I was hesitant to tell my wife because I suspected she would forbid it. Well, she's my daughter, 29 years later, and I have a daughter. We were both overjoyed to have found one another, and she asked if we could start building a relationship. I came home that day and told my wife everything. She was livid. But not because I was keeping this from her, like what I thought she would be understandably upset over. My wife thinks I'd choose Anne and Beth over her. She doesn't want me to be in contact with a girl who isn't more of your child as much as our kids are to you. She feels that by building this relationship, I will see her kids as less of mine. I got mad and said that her kids are her kids and I've been happy providing for them, but I am not their father. I am their stepfather, and sometimes I don't even feel they think that. She is forbidding me from this relationship, but I'm ready to die on this hill. I might be the a-hole because of the way I responded to my wife, that her kids are her kids and I want to have a relationship with my daughter even though it upsets her. She thinks I don't owe her anything since she is older and never knew me. I kept it a secret that I would get a paternity test. Am I the a-hole? Well, in my opinion, no, you are not the a-hole. This shouldn't affect her or her children in any way. This is your relationship to build with your daughter. It's not like you're gonna leave your wife or stop talking to your stepkids. Apparently, they don't even care that much. And I've gotta say, to me, the cherry on top as to why I believe you need to pursue this relationship is just simply the fact that she said she forbids you to do it. That's just ridiculous. The next thing we know is she's gonna give you an ultimatum. It's either her and her kids or your new daughter. And I'm pretty sure we can all guess how that would play out. So again, OP, no, I don't think you would be the a-hole if you try to build a relationship with your daughter. And I would actually encourage you to do it. Maybe you can try to get your wife on board and, assure her that whatever happens between you and your daughter will not affect the relationship that you have with her or your children. Besides, it's not like Anne is back in the picture. You can't find her and neither can your daughter. And what do you guys think, or what would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Free Palpitation says, not the a-hole. Trust me on this one. My mom had me when she was 16. Didn't tell my biological father until I was 26. He had no clue, and when he found out, he was ecstatic. Told his wife and my half-siblings, 2 brothers and a sister, about me. It was weird and awkward because I'm his oldest now, but we haven't officially met in person. We live on opposite sides of the country. This may be something to talk to a family therapist about, because it sounds like your wife needs some reassurance that you aren't going to up and abandon your family just because you found a lost member of it. And Opie responds, I meant to comment this yesterday, but thank you for your story. Rest assured, I'm not letting the opportunity to be a part of Beth's life go. Smiley face. Sev's Mama 21217 says, not the a-hole. This is a hill I would die on as well. You have every right to make a relationship with your daughter, if that's what you both want. Reassure your wife that this doesn't mean you'll abandon her or your stepchildren, but be clear and firm that you will pursue getting to know your daughter and maybe suggest couples therapy. Zippo Zabo says, not the a-hole. Your wife may well come around, but you'd do well to realize that you're in different positions. What is a great news for you is horrible news for her. You can probably work this out, but you will need to sacrifice a bit. I expect mostly by getting into things a bit more slowly and probably with the help of a counselor. And Opie responds, I just don't know why it'd be horrible for her at all. She's not losing me, unless she continues with these bogus demands. It's a daughter I never knew I had. I never had biological children up until this point. I've raised her 2 kids for the last 10 years and provided for them as much as I could. They weren't very warm to me, but hey, that's the step-parent life. She's acting like we were all a super warm, perfect family. We were happy, but by no means were we the Brady Bunch. Additional information from Opie's comments. I want to add that this all came to a head, and now she's seriously using the "it's me or her" ultimatum. Prior to this, we had a happy marriage. She doesn't work, and I provided for the family our whole time together. She has been in hysterics over this, saying Beth just wants to get money out of me. I'm starting to rethink our whole relationship, but I'm not sure if I'm being unreasonable by saying I'm absolutely going to make an effort to be in Beth's life from now on as her father. My wife's just been a jealous type over any woman I've been friends with or interacted with. She wanted passwords to my phone and stuff, which I didn't mind because I truly have nothing to hide. I understand it's probably because of her past with her ex, but I've never cheated on her or given her cause to believe I would leave her. I love her and our marriage. It wasn't always perfect, but we have made it work. I was always transparent, and I guess I'm hurt that she doesn't take my word for it when I say I won't leave her and don't love her or her kids any less. Also, I definitely own up to not telling my wife about Beth and the paternity test. In an odd way, it's almost as if I knew she would act this way, and I didn't want her to prevent me from finding out if Beth was my daughter, which is why I hid it from her. It wasn't my best moment. I just didn't want to cause her stress if Beth ended up not being my daughter and just the daughter of Anne. I guess she was always jealous that I told her I felt Anne was for a long time the love of my life, and it was a relationship that really affected me. Our separation and the mystery around her fleeing traumatized me, and I opened up about that early in our relationship. I obviously had to be in contact with her ex while raising the kids, and I never felt threatened or anything. I just didn't understand why she was jealous of someone who existed in my life before she did. I was 16 to 21, 22-ish. While it may seem like puppy love to some of you, like I said, it was a relationship that deeply affected me because I thought I was going to marry her. And even for years after, I thought she would turn up eventually and reach out to me. I didn't start dating regularly till I was 30. Now, I never thought about my wife being financially threatened. I mean, she has a bit of a shopping addiction that we curbed years ago. She was in debt, but nothing astronomical that I couldn't take care of. She hasn't worked in years, so she doesn't have retirement. I used some of my own retirement to pay for the kids' college. I guess in terms of inheritance, depending on how close Beth and I get and how our relationship progresses, I will include her obviously in my will. But Beth hasn't even talked about money, and in her job, she makes plenty of it. Maybe she is thinking of that. Honestly, there are certain things I've started to realize about us that are making it hard to come to grips with. I realized some of her behavior prior to this wasn't okay and was toxic. She refuses to talk to me unless I've agreed to stop talking to that girl. I've mentioned counseling, but she rebuffed it. I am giving her more time, but I can't take much more of this. I haven't told Beth any of this because we are just starting out learning about each other, and I'm enjoying the time I've spent with her. Her adoptive mother is the only parent in her life, since it turns out her adoptive dad was a scumbag and left the family. She started talking about this with me and told me she really appreciates me hearing about her life, even the not so great parts. I don't want to shake the boat and tell her everything that's going on with my life. My stepkids have even been colder to me as of late. Once my wife cools down and lets me calmly talk, I will definitely bring up having a therapist seriously. I guess you could say I never fully moved on from Anne, but after so many years, I see my wife as my primary partner and the person I knew that I would grow old with. Anne probably isn't the same Anne I knew anyways, wherever she is. I love my wife and I want to stay with her, but she has said some horrible things about Beth without knowing her, and her ultimatums are making it hard to forgive. Beth and I talked after we found out the result. She asked me what I felt comfortable with in terms of relationship building, and I told her I would be ready for whatever relationship she wanted to have because I was excited to find out I had a daughter. Okay, well I guess OP's wife jumped onto that ultimatum even before I thought it would happen. Anyways, OP is clear that he wants to have a relationship with Beth. Now, OP didn't write an update post, but he did give us many different updates in the comment section, and I curated them to have some sort of linear sense to this whole story. Now let's move on with the first one. I'm blown away by the support and advice I'm receiving. I just wanted to clear up a few things since I've commented along the way and some people make posts without reading the background. 1. My wife used to work when I met her. She stopped 5 years ago but hasn't worked since, and I wish I had an explanation for why or why I hadn't brought it up how it bothered me, but it is what it is. I didn't let her know it bugged me. I just didn't want to pressure her. 2. Beth has lived in the same city area as me her whole life. We both work in a large company downtown, and while it's bizarre she got a job in my department, it happened. I don't doubt we would have eventually found each other, seminars, networking events, etc., especially given we are in the same career field. When I say she's the spitting image of Anne, I mean she looked exactly like her mom. Finally, everyone keeps commenting on how my wife is just insecure over my long-lost love obsession. I need to be clear. The only reason I brought Anne up in telling you all my story is that she's very relevant to the story. My wife and I discussed past relationships and relationship trauma, and after a few snarky comments from her about Anne, I said we wouldn't talk about it anymore, and we hadn't for years. These last few weeks have really made me think about the past. I've not really been sleeping well, partially since it's on the couch. My wife kicked me out of the room. Ha! I've been thinking about what happened to Anne, and I think that her leaving might have been because someone found out she was pregnant, threatened her and me, and she chose to keep Beth. Beth did say that she was adopted when she was about 16 months old, so many questions have run through my mind. Why did she get adopted as an older infant? Did Anne try to raise her at first? How long was Anne still in the city area before she fled? Beth said she was born in an area not far from the city, so it seems as though Anne didn't leave right away after leaving me. I fear the worst regarding what happened to Anne and think someone in her family really didn't like the fact that she was in a relationship with me. I just don't believe she would be cruel enough to never let me know without a reason. Anyway, I'm not hung up on finding Anne. Right now, I just want to know about Beth. Beth has asked me some things about her mother, and I told her at this moment I can't really revisit that part of my life yet because I need to handle one big life change at a time. I thought about giving Beth some old photos, but the only photos I know I have of Anne are at my mother's home in the suburbs, and I'm not even sure they're still there because they've been in an attic for decades. I have been hesitant to ask my mom for my old things without it seeming suspicious because I haven't told any of my family members yet until I deal with my nuclear family issues first. I love my wife, but maybe the veil is lifting from me and I'm realizing that despite her loving me, she might see me more as just financial support. I don't like thinking that because we had amazing times together, and to think that it might have been a facade hurts. Okay, so now let's move on to the final curated update. My wife and I haven't had many issues pop up in our marriage other than the kids' attitudes sometimes, but they were teens and I also acknowledge I should have been more proactive in bonding with them. I do love and care for my stepchildren. Yes, I spoiled them a bit, but I have been making boundaries with them that predate the Beth revelation. And just to give you more context on them, my stepdaughter doesn't make much money. She became a bartender after she flunked out of college and COVID hit her hard, so she moved back in recently. My stepson is home because I stopped paying for his rent. Whole other issue, but he was also beginning to flunk in college because of his party habit. Anyway, I texted my wife the following, since she was still giving me either the silent treatment or yelling at me whenever we spoke. I'd like to talk about our future together. I need you to know Beth will be in my life with or without your support. We need to see a therapist. If you choose against this, I don't see how we can stay together. I love you. I cannot imagine us breaking up over your insecurity over my daughter I never knew I had. It isn't the kid's fault. This and your behavior with stepson and stepdaughter is not okay. Can we be mature and talk about this in person without yelling? It took some time, but she replied, and we had a long and grueling conversation last night. I'm really not ready to share specifics on that conversation. I don't want added judgment on my end. I can simply say that it wasn't a very good or bad conversation. It just was. But at least we're talking now. We are trying to work past this, but I am feeling disheartened. I don't believe my wife is a gold digger, but I do believe in this case she does care more about financial stability than understanding my relationship with Beth. I don't want my marriage to end because I know she loves me and cares for me. We've had great times and I am very much in love with her. In any case, my priority is getting to know my daughter. I didn't think my wife would react as harshly and hysterically as she has been. I get the initial shock, but it's been weeks and she hasn't let up. I am exhausted, but hopefully we can work on this together. And one thing is very clear to me. My relationship with my daughter is not her call. This is my daughter. It'd be like if I tried to dictate the way she treats her kids. I have an opinion, but I can't make her do anything in particular. I think I can build a relationship with Beth while working on my relationship with my wife. But if she is against this and won't budge, then I choose Beth, plain and simple. The idea that anyone can prevent someone from knowing their kid is asinine. Beth is not a child, she's a grown woman, and I'm not going to miss out on knowing her any longer. So for now, I am continuing to see Beth and learning about her adoptive family. We're planning on going to dinner this weekend so I can meet them. So thanks again to all of you for your comments, even the mean-spirited ones. They've really helped me, and even though I'm not sure where my relationship with my wife will end up, I know my relationship with my daughter will only get stronger. Well, OP, hopefully your wife does come around and understand that Beth being in your life will not take anything away from her or her children. But if she doesn't and keeps being unfair, well, you've already made your choice. So all the best to you and Beth in the future. Hopefully you guys can build an awesome father-daughter relationship. Take care, OP, and thank you so much for sharing. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I really did enjoy reading them to you. So if you did, then don't be shy and go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe or even share this video with people that you might think will enjoy my storytelling. Also, if you have the time, go down to the video description and check out all the links I have for you, from our Discord community to my channel merch. And finally, I'd like to say thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me that you enjoy my videos. And having said all that, I'll see you guys in the next video.